Our beloved Lady Furina has hit the stage once more, and with her re-release comes a whole lot of demand for good healers to use with her. It just so happens that I'm a very dedicated Furina main, and I know all the ins and outs of her greatest healer synergies. So I thought, hey, why not dissect each and every one of Furina's potential healers, ranking just how good they are for her on the whole. I'll go into just how much they benefit Furina, their best Furina synergizing team, and explain why I think they are as good or bad as they are. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. Oh no, not another Juice ranking! Yeah, I know that every time I do a structured ranking, the world ends. But that's why I'll lay down some ground rules so that we can at least be on the same page. I do invite discussion down below in the comments if you feel like I'm wrong or should have considered something. Okay, so I'll be having two separate rankings for C0-5, and another video will come for C6. This is because there are such drastically different values at hand when it comes to what to prioritize in a Furina healer, and another little twist which I'll cover when I get to that video. I value whether the healer is team-wide. If not, what is their compensation? Do they have multiple qualities to offer outside of just heals? Can they keep up with Furina's Fanfare gain, and do they have any specific synergy with it by any chance? How good is their best in slot Furina team? And how many Furina teams do they fit into well? Key word here is well. And is their healing easy to access and overall reliable? Also, while C2 plus Furinas can max out their Fanfare very easily, do note that healers can provide you with more utilities than just team healing. And take the rankings with a grain of salt. A nice big grain of salt. Tier listing is an awkward metric because there's so many variables at play, and different situations can favor a normally bad character to be really good, and vice versa. I mostly just want to analyze how well these healers pair up with Furina, with a rough estimate of their ranking on top. Kicking things right off with one of my favorite Furina healers, Xianyun. Her healing is team-wide, but it isn't just a little bit team-wide. They have a 2.5 second healing interval, which is not super fast, but her ticks of healing are huge. She has plenty of qualities to offer outside of heals, such as Song of Days Past, or if you're okay with the goofy swirl sweat-ups, then Viridescent Venerer is also strong. Not to mention her enabling of plunge playstyles, and Furina happens to synergize very well with plungers. For example, the Triple Pyro Trio. She more than keeps up with Furina's Fanfare. This is because she has some specific synergy with it. When Xianyun casts her burst, she does have a front-loaded blast of healing, but it isn't enough to keep your team's HP at max for too long before HP drain starts taking place again. Her healing paces perfectly with Fanfare, being fast and consistent, keeping your whole team healthy, while still allowing air for the HP drain to breathe. Not to mention that the burst lasts 16 whole seconds, so you get team-wide heals consistently throughout your entire rotation, so that front-loaded blast isn't even necessary. It's just there because that's how good she is. As for her best Furina team, Xiao Hyper is, in my opinion, her strongest if we assume correct investment. Crazy balls off the walls team that synergizes so harmoniously. Healing for Xiao and Furina, Animal Particles for Xiao and Faruzan, Plunge buffing for Xiao, Song of Days Past for team DPS, or Viridescent Venerer for Furina Swirl. But the crazy thing is that Xianyun's other teams are still crazy good. The Pyro Plunge trio, for instance. Diluc, Gaming, and Hu Tao. Diluc really needed the buff, Gaming is just an insane 4-star, and Xianyun made C0 Hu Tao playable. Other fun playstyles like Navia Plunge exist too, which solves the team's previous issue of a team-wide healer. Plus, as long as you have enough energy recharge, her heals are super easy to access. Easy S tier. Now for Bennett, who's an interesting one. So he isn't team-wide, and he has another handicap, but his value majorly comes from how he buffs the rest of his teammates with all of his other stellar qualities. Sadly, that additional handicap is that he can't trigger Furina's healing overflow A1. He stops healing characters once they are at or above 70% HP. Above means that if you're at 69% HP, he'll still do one other healing tick, but that's still not gonna be enough for consistent Furina A1s. So Bennett fares best in teams where one damage source is the team majority, because they will be getting the most consistent healing. It is worth noting that Bennett does heal very fast, however. Massive attack percent buffing does make him a fountain of value for attack scalers, and teams like Linny Vape, for the uninformed, try it yourself, are very strong. Linny himself has fast HP drain and gain, and Bennett's attack buffing has excellent synergy with him. Good stuff. Also, all of his other Furina teams are very solid, like Navia with Zhongli focusing on Navia's damage, or Rio teams. If you stack him with ER, then yes, his heals are reliable. On the whole, he has caveats, but he ultimately makes himself feel worth it. It is a lot of healing very fast too, with 7k per tick bringing most characters up to that 70% threshold with just 1 or 2 ticks. Easy A tier. Now for Jean, the standard Anemo healer. Wonderful team-wide healing, and outside of healing, she can offer easy Viridescent Venever Shred or Noblesse usage for teams that prefer it, while also being a good Favonius sword holder, alongside having good constellations, such as C2's movement speed and C4's Anemo Shred. She absolutely keeps up with Furina's Fanfare gain and does a crud ton of healing. If your team is at 50% HP and she fully heals everybody, that's 200 Fanfare immediately, because 50% HP times 4. Remember that every 1% of HP lost or gained is 1 Fanfare. At C0, I'd say your best in slot Furina team is Tao Double Hydro, which is very strong, though she is power crept by Xianyun here, and at C4, I'd say it's Wanderer because of the attack speed plus Res Shred. Very good teams, and even if you have Xianyun, having 2 of a good character is never a bad thing. Flexible in pretty much any elemental Furina team with 4VV, and her heals are super easy to access. Her burst cost is actually 64 considering her passive, then stick her on Favonius plus an ER Sands, and you're good to go. Top of A tier. Now for Qiqi, I just want to get her out of the way because of the Cloran team. She does heal a lot, but outside of that, does nothing of note. Though she can use Ocean Hued Clam, her best in slot Furina team is the Cloran team. While this is the best physical team, it is certainly not Cloran's best team. It's just a goofy team for fun. No other really decent Furina teams with Qiqi, sadly. Just avoid her if you're not using the Cloran team. D tier on the whole. Time for everyone's favorite cryo reporter, Charlotte. She has team-wide healing, and outside of this, she has numerous qualities. Cryo applications, Song of Days Past, Tenacity of the Millilith, and she's a Favonius holder. Very cool. C4 also helps out with her energy economy, and while she has no particular synergy with Fanfare other than just being a fairly consistent healer, she has a very nice best-in-slot team in Noivellette Freeze, an underrated Noive team in which Charlotte applies her cryo marks, and Noive keeps enemies frozen from far away. Solid Noive team and is good for using C0 Noive with C0 Furina. She can also comfortably play an Ayaka Furina Kazuha Charlotte, which is where Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers gains value, but you need like 210 to 220% ER to get that working. On the whole, very decent and can slot her wherever you need to be, but since Cryo's in a rough spot right now, her application doesn't have a ton of use cases. May get better over time, however. Solid B tier with potential to move up. Mika, Nerd Man! He has 1 large tick of respectable team-wide healing, then the rest of his heals are smaller and single character. Outside of that, he can hold Noblesse and Favonius and also give attack speed buffs. C1 helps his healing as it decreases the intervals, and C4 provides him with energy. Mika's just about able to survive Furina's Fanfare gaining, and listen, yes, he does provide Eula with her best-in-slot team of Eula, Furina, Raiden, and Mika, but this is not Mika's best-in-slot team. Instead, he can be played with physical Cloran over Zhongli for the attack speed and physical buffs, not so much for his healing because Qiqi's already there. And in Scaramouche teams because of the attack speed, but this is not Scaramouche's best-in-slot team, so a bit of an awkward spot. So while his kit and utilities aren't that bad, it's more an issue of having not very good best-in-slot teams and falling behind Charlotte, a fellow 4-star cryo. C tier with potential to move up. We've made it to Noelle, ha 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 ha. Excellent Furina driver with her team-wide heals, and outside of that she offers an ergonomic burst which you can swap on and off to, can hold Favonius and Furina driver teams, offers shields to your team, and can run Archaic Petra for more Hydro damage too. You can even opt to have Noelle be built to deal damage. She keeps up with Furina's Fanfare just fine, and Constellations only improve this factor for her. Her best in slot Furina team, Noelle Navia Dual Geo, is super comfy. Noelle generating crystal shrapnel during Navia's burst for her to quickly swap on and do her nukes, then to swap back onto Noelle and continue Fanfare grinding. Outside of that, she can drive Furina double Hydro plus an Animo, and can also run her own Geo teams where she's the main star of the show and deal respectable free-to-play damage. Considering that she's practically a free unit, this is all very in her favor. Easy and reliable healing access too. Just make sure to meet your team's energy recharge requirements and you're good to go. Amazing free-to-play option with very good teams to boot. Top of B tier, but you could argue for bottom of A tier as well. Diona, oh dear. Single character healer, and a slow one at that. Diona can use Noblesse and Favonius, but Charlotte exists, and she does also offer shields, and while I personally don't care about her co-op functions, others may care. A cryo battery too with sacrificial bow, and her C6 has a large EM blast. Honestly, she physically cannot keep up with Fanfare. Her healing interval is just too slow, and for that reason is next to unusable with Furina. Ayaka freeze if you wanna cope. F tier. Now for the girl with the damn Valkyrie chariot cut, or at least close. Her burst does an upfront team-wide heal, and when her E is active, her normal attacks and charge attacks do team-wide healing. Charge attack when you can because it offers more healing. Outside of that, she offers Song of Days Past and Ocean Hued Climb with equal effectiveness, and can hold Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers or Prototype Amber. C1 and C4 give energy, and C2 gives Hydro bonus % to the active unit. Though Yelan and Furina do not snapshot, so this would only have use if you on-field Yelan so she can give herself the ramping damage bonus. However, then you trade more consistent team-wide heals for damage. She keeps up with Fanfare surprisingly well, she's best in slot in Mono Hydro as a driver, good free-to-play option if you don't have Kokomi. Not many teams, but she is better than you would expect. Top of C tier, not shabby. Now for Snake Guy. Super effective team-wide heals with his E, and a burst which heals you up very fast, while also consolidating with weak shields for interruption resistance. Also offers holding Deepwood or even Ocean Hued Clan with around 180% ER and double Dendro, and he can manage Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers. Prototype Amber is also great for comfort, not to mention his rather solid Dendro reaction buffing that he does with his passive. Being a Nihida replacement is another big deal. Many qualities outside of healing, all of which are valuable. Keeps up with Furina's Fanfare super comfortably. No issues there, and does not have any minor heal front-load issues. Best in slot Furina team is Alhaitham Quick Bloom with Alhaitham, Furina, Raiden, and Baizhu. It is a damage downgrade from the Kuki Nihida variant, but this sure is more comfortable. Great Nihida replacement. He's also fantastic for Sayu, who really wants a character that can keep up with his absurd field time and multi-waste problems, like Baizhu. On the whole, just great anywhere you need a Dendro healer. Can also work in double Hydro cores. Keep in mind that Furina doesn't buff Transformatus, however, so you'd be using Baizhu just for the heals and his Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayer or Prototype Amber, not the Dendro anymore. For example, Raiden Driver double Hydro with Baizhu. Super on-demand team-wide heals with his E, as if his burst wasn't good enough already. Easy S tier, behind Xianyun because she ultimately enables a new playstyle and fits into more teams, though you can argue that they are equal in value. Feel free to comment in favor of Baizhu's case. Then for Kuki Shinobu, she's a good single character healer, and she gets better with constellations as well. While she isn't team-wide, her heal ticks are pretty much fine, and you can trigger Furina's healing A1. Amazing Hyper Bloom trigger, and this is where her main crazy value lies. And she can keep up with Fanfare on single characters. Best in slot in Alhaitham Quick Bloom, his highest damaging team variant. You can also put Prototype Amber on Nihida for more heals in this team. She will be great in any Quick Bloom or Hyper Bloom team of this nature with a main DPS. A tier behind Bennett, because while Kuki Shinobu doesn't have the 70% heal restriction, Bennett has plenty more team options and heals 7k per tick compared to Kuki's 2.5k per 1.5 seconds, for example. Sayu NATO time! Her initial team-wide heal blast is pretty nice, and then she starts to heal single characters within her circular field. Her initial blast is weaker than Jean's, and her single character is on par with Jean's. She can hold 4-piece Viridescent Venerer, her C1 has great quality of life, C4 gives her amazing energy, and C6 gives healing based on EM. She has no particular Fanfare synergy, she just keeps up with it well, especially for a 4-star. Nearly the same as Jean, and I would say she's a perfectly fine downgrade, middle of B tier, because Jean does have great constellations for her team. And now for Kokomi, the fish. Her burst normal attacks give team-wide heals which make her perfect for mono Hydro, and the Jellyfish is also super good at single character healing. She has other utilities like Tenacity of the Millilith, Ocean Hued Clam, Elemental Mastery builds, Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers, Prototype Amber, and so much more. She keeps up with Fanfare very consistently. She's an amazing mono Hydro driver, best in slot in my opinion, and benefits from Hydro Resonance. And she can finally make use of her whole intended kit this way. Kokomi does also have Bloom, but I don't like Furina plus Transformatives teams. She only buffs herself in those. Best in slot mono Hydro driver, therefore I'm gonna put her at the bottom of A tier. Now for Kokomi 2, Sigewinne. Her heals are insane, this much is true, and with her signature weapon she can do Xingqiu levels of damage contributions and buffs Furina's 3 little guys damage-wise, and any of her skill-based summons like Fischl for example. Outside of that, not much additional utilities. Sigewinne was designed for Furina, so naturally she keeps up with Fanfare pretty well. Sigewinne's own best in slot team is also mono Hydro, and you can fit her short burst duration during Yelan's downtime as their durations match up perfectly. She's a Kokomi side grade, except she can't work as well in Bloom. A tier behind Kokomi, not working in Bloom doesn't knock her far down since Furina's not that good of a Bloom unit anyway. YaoYao! Big bells! Good team-wide healing on burst, very good in fact. She does need to be on field to take full advantage of this. However, if you use Candace, you can infuse her normal attacks of Hydro so she can trigger more blooms. Not to mention that YaoYao can also hold Deepwood since her on-field burst's Dendro application is pretty large. Her heals are very fast and are good for Fanfare. But here's where the problem strikes. Her best in slot team is Bloom, which Furina just does not aid as well as non-transformative teams. Yes, YaoYao can work in other Dendro teams, but then the problem of her being an on-fielder for most of her value becomes more prevalent. So listen, I think YaoYao is a good healer, but this is a video on Furina healers, so she goes to the bottom of B tier. Time for Dori. She heals over time with her burst, which is single character, the heals are just alright, and at C6 she can on-field with Sack Sword as those C6 heals are indeed team-wide. She also gives energy with her burst, applies an Electro Aura onto your characters, and also does some of her own Electro application. And Dori keeps up with Fanfare equally to Bennett. Her main issue is having no best in slot team. She can drive Furina double Hydro, but Barbara is a free option which can do the same with more consistent team-wide healing. Furina teams aren't really Dori's forte. No real uses, similar situation to Mika, but at least Mika has a few actual teams. C tier behind the guy. And now for healers who just did not make the list. Chevreuse did not make the list because she's an overload unit. She only works with Electros and Pyros. Even if some of her abilities do work outside of overload, those teams are still usually Electro or Pyro-centric and do not require Furina's services. She is a good unit though. C4 Goro technically counts as a healer, but he is a Geo buffer first and foremost. Plus, his heals are very, very small, and do not do enough healing to justify calling him a healer on the whole, much less a Furina healer. All the healers presented here will work to some degree, and you'll clear Abyss just fine with them. A healer that was B in my opinion may be D in yours, or an A tier for me may have been a C tier for you. In any case, I'm very interested to know what you all think, so please comment down below and share your thoughts. Hopefully this video helped you find out who Furina's best healer is. This has been Juice, signing out, and the true Furina healer is the long hair mode we made along the way.